ॐ श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिल श्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातम् अमूमुचते कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यातहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुम् अवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वतात्मया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरे नमः। श्रीहरे नमः। श्रीहरे नमः। गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्दा गोविन्दा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we'll do the review from 19 to 61, about 20 stanzas each. Maybe Priya Sriram, can you do 20, and Revati, you can do 20.
Sure. Or I can go to, it's your choice.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Priya, yeah.
Okay. सदा स्वप्रभया तेषां द्योतयन्त्या दिशो दश मुष्णं स्तेज उपानीतः तार्क्ष्येन स्तोत्रवाजिना श्यामो हिरण्यरशनोर्ककिरीटजुष्टो नीलालकभ्रमरमण्डितकुण्डलास्यः कंवज्ज चक्रशरचाप गदासि चर्म व्यग्रैर्हिरण्मयभुजैरिव कर्णिकारः वक्षयस्ति श्रितवधूर्वण माल्युधारहासावलोककलया रमयंश विश्वं पार्श्वभ्रमद्व्यजनचामरराजहंसः श्वेतातपत्रशशिनोपरि राज्यमानः
And the first word மட்டும் பக்ஷஸ்ய
वक्षस्यधिश्रित
Yeah.
वक्षस्यधिश्रित ओके तमुपागतमालक्ष्य सर्वे सुरगणादयः प्रणेमुः सहसोत्थाय ब्रह्मेन्द्रत्यक्षनायकाः तत्तेजसा हतरुचः सन्नजिह्वाससाध्वसाः मूर्ध्ना धृताञ्जलिपुटा उपतस्तुरधोक्षजम् अप्यर्वाग्वृत्तयो यस्य महित्वात्मभुवादयः यथामति गृह्णन्ति स्म कृतानुग्रहविग्रहम् दक्षो गृहीतार्हणसाधनोत्तमम् यज्ञेश्वरं विश्वसृजां परं गुरुं नन्दाद्यनुगैर्वृत्तम्
मुदाக்கு அப்புறம் காமா
मुदा सुनन्दनन्दाद्यनुगैर्वृतं मुदा गृणन् प्रपेदे प्रयतः कृताञ्जलिः दक्ष उवाच शुद्धं स्वधाम्न्युपरताखिलबुद्ध्यवस्थं चिन्मात्रमेकमभयं प्रतिषिध्य मायां तिष्ठंस्तयैव पुरुषत्वमुपेत्य तस्याम् आस्ते भवान् परिशुद्ध इवात्मतन्त्रः ऋत्विज उवाच तत्त्वं न ते
ऊचुः
ऋत्विज ऊचुः तत्त्वं न ते वयमनञ्जनरुद्र शापात् कर्मण्यवग्रहधियो भगवन् विदामः धर्मोपलक्षणमिदं त्रिवृद्धद्वराख्यं ज्ञातं यदर्थमदिदैव मदो व्यवस्थाः सदस्या ऊचुः उत्पत्त्यध्वन्यशरण उरुक्लेश दुर्गेन्तकोग्रव्यालान्विष्टे विषयमृगतुष्यतृष्यात्मगेहोरुभारः द्वन्द्वश्वभ्रेकल मृगभये शोकदावेज्ञसार्थः पादौ कस्ते शरणदकथा यताति कामोपसृष्टः
लास्ट याति कामोपसृष्टः
याति पादौ कस्ते शरणदकदा याति कामोपसृष्टः रुद्र उवाच तव वरदवराङ्घ्रावाशिषेहाखिलार्ते ह्यपि मुनिभिरसक्तैरादरेणार्हणीये यदि रचिदधियं मा विद्य लोकोपविद्धं जपति न गणये तत्त्वत्परानुग्रहेण भृगुरुवाच यन्मायया गहनयापहृतात्मबोधा ब्रह्मादयस्तनुभृतस्तमसि स्वपन्तः नात्मन् श्रितं तव विदन्त्यधुनापि तत्त्वं सोऽयं प्रसीदतु भवान् प्रणतात्मबन्धुः ब्रह्म उवाच नैतत्स्वरूपं भवतोऽसौ पदार्थभेदग्रहैः पुरुषो यावधीक्षेत् ज्ञानस्य चार्थस्य गुणस्य चाश्रयो मायामयात्यतिरिक्तो यतस्त्वम् इन्द्र उवाच इदमप्युच्युत विश्वभावनं वपुरानन्दकरं मनोदृशाम् सुरविद्विक्षपणैरुदायुधैः भुजदण्डैरुपपन्नमष्टभिः पत्न्यौचुः यज्ञोऽयं तव यजनायकेन सृष्टो विध्वस्तः पशुपतिनाद्य दक्षकोपात् तं नस्त्वं शवशयानभशान्तमेधं यज्ञात्मन्ननिलरुचादृशा पुनीः
And second line priya first half shava shayanabh shantamedham
शवशयनाभशान्तमेधम् ऋषय ऊचुः अनन्वितं ते भगवान् विचेष्टितं यदात्मना चरसि हि कर्मणाज्यसे विभूतये यत उपसेदुरीश्वरीं न मन्यते स्वयमनुवर्ततीं भवान्
first line la bhagavan te bhagavan
सिद्धावूचुः अयं त्वत्कथामृष्टपीयूषनद्यां मनोवारणः क्लेशदावाग्निदग्धः तृषार्तोऽवगाढो न सस्मारदावं न
निष्क्रामति
निष्क्रामति ब्रह्मसम्पन्नवन्नः यजमान्युवाच स्वागतं ते प्रसीदेश तुभ्यं नमः श्रीनिवास श्रियाकान्तयात्राहिनः त्वामृतेधीश नाङ्गैर्मखः शोभते शीर्षहीनः कबन्धो यथा पूरुषः लोकपालावूचुः दृष्टः किं नो दृग्भिरसद्ग्रहैस्त्वं प्रत्यग्द्रष्टा दृश्यते येन दृश्यं माया ह्येषा भवदीया हि भूमन् यस्त्वं षष्ठः पञ्चभिर्भासि भूतैः योगेश्वरावूचुः प्रेयान्नप्तेऽन्योऽस्त्यमुतस्त्वयि प्रभो विश्वात्मनि क्षेण्ण पृथग्य आत्मनः अथापि भक्त्येष तयोपधावताम् अनन्यवृत्ता वृत्त्यानुगृहाण वत्सल जगदुद्भवस्थितिलयेषु दैवतो बहुविद्यमान गुणयात्ममायया रुचितात्मभेदमतये स्वसंस्थया विनिवर्तितभ्रमणगुणात्मने नमः
Second line, first word, Rachitatma.
रचिता रचितात्मभेद ब्रह्मोवाच नमस्ते श्रुतसत्त्वाय धर्मादीनां च सूतये निर्गुणाय च यत्काष्ठां नाहं वेदोपरेऽपि च
You can,
अग्निहोत्वा
you can stop. You can stop there. Veda par, last line. Veda pare picha.
वेदापरेऽपि च
अग्निवाच यत्तेजसाहं सुषमित्ततेजा हव्यं वहे स्वत्पर आज्यसिक्तं तं यज्ञं पञ्चवितं च पञ्चभिः स्विष्टं यजुर्भिः प्रणतोऽस्मि यज्ञं
Yajur
देवा
bif and the visarga on the F. Yajur bif pranatos.
यजुर्भिः प्रणतोऽस्मि यज्ञं देवावूचुः पुरा कल्पापाये स्वकृतम् उदरीकृत्य विकृतं त्वम् एवात्यस्तस्मिन् सलिल उरकेन्द्रातिशयने पुमान् शेषे सिद्धैर्हृति विमृशितात्यात्मपदविः स एवात्याक्षणो यः पति सरसि भृत्यान् अवसिनः गन्धर्वौचुः अंसां सास्ते देवमरीक्ष्यताय एते ब्रह्मेन्द्रात्या देवगणा रुद्रपुरोगाः क्रीडापाण्डं विश्वमदम्
Vishwamidam.
विश्वमिदं यस्य विभूमन् तस्मै नित्यं नाद नमस्ते करवाम
And the Devati in the first line, le, Marichyadaya ete. First line, Deva
ओके
Marichyadaya ete.
अंसां यास्ते देव मरीच्यादय एते
Yeah.
ओके विद्याधरा ऊचुः त्वन्माययार्तम् अभिपत्य कलेवरेऽस्मिन् कृत्वा ममाहम् इति दुर्मदिर्उत्पदैः स्वैः क्षिप्तोऽभ्यसत् विषयलालस आत्ममोहम् उष्मद्गदामृतनिषेवक उद्वयुधस्येत्
Udvyudasyet.
उद्भ्युदस्येत् ब्राह्मण ऊचुः त्वं करतुस्त्वं हविस्त्वं हुतासस्वयं त्वं हि मन्त्रः सुमिद्दर्भपात्राणि च त्वं सदस्य ऋत्विजो दम्पती देवता अग्निहोत्रं स्वता सोम आज्यं पशुः त्वं पुरा काम्रसाय महासुकरो त्वं षट्प्रया पद्मिनीं वारेणेन्द्रो यथा स्तूयमानो नतल्लीलया योगिभिः व्युज् व्यज्हर्तत्रयी गात्रयज्ञक्रतुः
And the first line
सप्
after comma, Damshtriya Padminim.
ओके दंष्ट्या पद्मिनीं वारणयन्त्रो यथा
Yeah.
ओके सप्रसीदत्वम् अस्माकम् आकाङ्क्षतां दर्शनं ते परिपृष्टसत्कर्मणां कीर्त्यमानो नृभिर्नाम्नि यज्ञेशते यज्ञविघ्नाक्षयं यान्ति तस्मै नमः
Last line,
मैत्र
Yajna Vignaha. Visarga on the chok. You have to say that.
KSH இல்லையா முதல்ல
Vignaha, because the
விக்னாக்ஷயம்
ksha is coming later, right? So you have to say that Visarga. Yajna Vignaha.
ओके यज्ञविघ्नाः क्षयं यान्ति तस्मै नमः मैत्रेय उवाच इति दक्षः कविर्यज्ञं पत्ररुद्राभिमर्शितं कीर्त्यमानो हृषीकेशे सन्निये यज्ञभावने
I'm sorry,
भगवान्
Devati,
स्वे
one second. On the previous stanza, and
सनिन्ये
then, in this stanza, Kirtyamane.
நான் என்ன சொன்னேன்
Kirtyamano or something you said. Kirtyama.
कीर्त्यमाने
Yeah, yeah,
हृषीकेशे
yeah, yeah.
सनिन्ये यज्ञभावने भगवान् स्वेन भागेन सर्वात्मा सर्वभागभुक् दक्षं बभाष आभाष्य प्रीयमाण इवानक श्रीभगवान् उवाच अहं ब्रह्मा च सर्वश्च जगतः कारणं परम् आत्मेश्वर उपद्रष्टा स्वयं दृक् अविशेषणः आत्ममायां समाविश्य सोऽहं गुणमयीं त्विज सृजन् रक्षन् हरन् विश्वं दत्रे सज्ञां क्रियोचितां तस्मिन् ब्रह्मणि अद्वितीये केवले परमात्मनि ब्रह्मरुद्रौ च भूतानि भेदेनाज्ञो अनुपश्यति
And the
यथा
first line, Brahmani Advitiye, correct, but then that Sandhi will become Brahmanya Dvitiye.
ओके ब्रह्मण्यद्वितीये
Yeah.
केवले परमात्मनि ओके यथा पुमानः स्वाङ्गेषु शिरस्पाण्य शिरः சொல்லணுமா சிரः அடுத்த லைன்
Shiraf
ओके
Panya.
यथा पुमानः स्वाङ्गेषु शिरः पुण्यादिषु क्वचित् पराज्ञ बुद्धिं कुरुते एवं भूतेषु मत्परः
First line,
त्रयाणां
Panya Dishu. You said Punya, Panya Dishu Kvachit.
ஓகே என் புக்ல இருக்கிற மாதிரி நான் வாசிச்சிட்டேன் சாரி
Poor, okay, it should be Panya Dishu. Pani Adishu. So another.
அப்படிதான் எனக்கு
Not Punya. So, okay, just we correct that. It's Panya
ஓகே
Dishu Kvachit. Yeah.
Rajesh, and the second line, kurutela than a break.
Comma. After Kurute, the comma, yeah. Evam.
आराध्य बुद्धिं कुरुते एवं भूतेषु मत्परः त्रयाणम् एह भावानां यो न पश्यति वैपितां सर्वभूतात्मनां ब्रह्मन् स शान्तिम् अधिगच्छति मैत्रेय उवाच एवं भगवतादिष्टः प्रजापतिपतिर्हरिम् अर्चित्वा क्रतुना स्वेन देवान् उपयतो यजत् रुद्रं स्वेन भागेन ह्युपादावत् समाहितः कर्मणोत वसानेन सोमवान् इतरानपि
Sanena, comma, and then Soma Panitaranapi. Yeah.
कर्मणोदसानेन सोमवान् इतरानपि उदवस्य सहर्विग्भिः सस्नौ अवप्रुतं ततः तस्मा अभ्यानुभावेन स्वेनैव अवाप्तरादसे धर्म एव मतिं तत्त्वा धृतशास्त्रे दिवं ययुः एवं दाक्षायणी हित्वा सती पूर्वकलेवरं जज्ञे हिमवतः क्षेत्रे मेनेयाम् इति सुश्रुम मेनायाम् इति सुश्रुम तम् एव दैतं भूय आवृङ्क्ते पतिमम्बिका अनन्यभावैकगतिं शक्तिः सुप्तेव पुरुषम् एतत्
last there Gatim, comma, Shaktis Supteva Purusham.
अनन्यभावैकगतिं शक्तिश्रुदेव पुरुषम् एतत् भगवतः शम्भोः कर्म दक्षात् वरदृहः श्रुतं भागवतात् शिष्यात् उद्धवान् मे बृहस्पतेः
First line Shambhoho. एतद्
भगवतः शम्भोः कर्म दक्षात् वरदृहः श्रुतं भागवतात् शिष्यात् उद्धवान् मे बृहस्पतेः इतं पवित्रं परमीशचेष्टितं यशस्यम् आयुष्यम् अगौगमर्षणं योगनित्यता कर्ण्यनरो न कीर्तयेत् दूनोत्यकं गौरवभक्तिभावदः इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे दक्षयज्ञसन्तानं नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः श्रीहरे नमः
Dakshayajna Sandhana. I heard a im sound.
Okay. Dakshayajna Nama Saptamo.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll just, I know I have to say the meaning from Sri Bhagavan Uvacha from 50. So we'll quickly wrap that. Then I want to just spend a few minutes wrapping up this Daksha Charitram that we saw so far, right? So I think where we left, because we have a 2-week break. So they all do the stuti, right? And then Mahavishnu appears and then they describe the form of Mahavishnu. Everybody does the stuti. Now Vishnu is speaking. That's why Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So the first thing he says here is Aham Brahmacha Sharvascha. So he says there should be, because they differentiated, right? Daksha differentiated by he was doing all these offerings to Mahavishnu because he's the ultimate destination for all of these things, and he respected Brahma, but he little bit, but he didn't respect Shiva. So here Mahavishnu is coming, Narayana is coming and saying, I am Brahma, I am Shiva, I am also Vishnu. So he says there should be absolutely no differentiation between all of these things. All of us are the cause of all this manifestation. Everything that you're seeing material, we are responsible for that. He's saying when you remove the form, the appearance of the various peoples, and the role that both of the three of them play, he says we are all the same. At the deep spiritual level, we are all absolutely the same person or the same source which is doing everything. It's just that we take three different forms with three different roles, right? So you cannot differentiate between either Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva in any form or anything. You can prefer one, not prefer another. That is totally fine, but doesn't mean one is better or one is lower, because he says all three are coming from the same source. Each one has a role to play, just like how your right hand has a role to play, left hand has a role to play, and your limbs have a role to play. It all belongs to you. So you cannot differentiate that. They just have different purposes, right? And he says the one who understands this will have peace, because people who starts differentiating then will have problems, right? Saying one is better, the other is not. So that is the first thing that Bhagavan is telling to Daksha and everybody. So once that is there, Daksha now, who has gotten his head back with that of a goat, he now performs the final yajna he actually does, and then he respects, Brahma is there, Shiva is there, Narayana, everybody is there. So Daksha, respects everybody equally, and then he completes the sacrifice which he had started on to do, and with that sacrifice comes to an end, right? So now after Daksha's sacrifice has come to an end, Maitreya is wrapping up this thing by saying that, you remember, Dakshayani gave up her body, right? So he says that Dakshayani, who gave up her body, did not just simply disappear, because she's an extension, automatic connection to Shiva, so she cannot be separated. Later on, she incarnates again as the daughter of Himavan, who is the Himalaya, king of Himalaya. She incarnates there as Ambika or Durga, and then with that she again gets married to Shiva, and their union comes back again. So this is way to say that just because she gives up her body and gives that doesn't mean she's going to be separated. She comes back again in a different form, and then a Sati or Parvati, and then they get united again. So this comes in Devi Mahatmyam, 5th chapter, when Shumbha and Nishubha are coming, and then the Devas go do a stuti, that Namastasye, Namastasye. After that stuti gets over, it will come Evam Stavadi Yuktanam Devanam Tatra Parvati Snatum Abhyaya Yotoye Janavyanpanandana. So they go to Himalayas, and then they see Parvati taking bath in the Himalayas. So from there, from her Kosha, Kaushiki will come and all that. But that's that Parvati who's then born again as the daughter of Himavan, and then she gets united with Shiva again. So that is the finishing of this. And then he says that the one who listens to this whole Daksha Charitram and who talks about it, with deep faith and devotion, will not have any material contamination, because the whole idea is you are not differentiating between beings and different things, right? So that is the core essence of that. With this, the Daksha Charitram comes to an end, right? So this was kind of starts in 4.2, right? So it kind of just a quick summary, because it's such a long time, right? So it starts with Daksha performing that sacrifice. He then offends Shiva. And then, when that actually happens, Nandishwara curses, then Bhrigu curses, so that they go back and forth in the curse between the two of them. That happens in 4.2. Then Sati comes to know, so the sages complete that sacrifice, right? And then Daksha gets promoted as the head of all the Prajapatis, and then he performs another big yajna to which neither Shiva nor Sati are invited. So at that time, there's a conversation that happens between Sati and Shiva, where Shiva says that if you go, you're going to get insulted, and that's going to feel worse. So he recommends you don't go. Then in 4.4, Sati, along with everybody, she goes there. She gets insulted there by Daksha. She then renounces her body, tells Daksha that, he's differentiating, which is wrong. And then she quits her body, and then through her Yoga Agni, she burns off her body. And then the people, then the next one, when that happens, then Veerabhadra comes, right? In 4.5, Shiva creates Veerabhadra, who then goes and then they all go destroy that entire sacrificial arena. Brigu, all of them, they get hit and all of that stuff, and all of that happens in 4.5. Then in 4.6, people go worship Brahma to say, you have to help us out. They all go to Kailasha where they see Lord Shiva, and then they all do a stuti to say that, we made a mistake. You have to actually come and help us out and bail out of this thing. So that's the worship that happens in 4.6. 4.7, Shiva agrees, Daksha gets his head, they do the prayers, Narayana comes, they do the stuti, and the sacrifice gets completed, right? So this was the Daksha Charitram that went from 4.2 to 4.7, because this is the completion of that. So the fourth canto primarily has four big things which are happening. One is the Daksha Charitram, which was 6 chapters of it. Next, we're going to see Dhruva Charitram, which is going to be another 5-6 chapters of Dhruva Charitram. And then it is going to come to Prithu Charitram, and then it is going to come to Prachetas, that is the other. So those are the 4 big topics, and each of them is like 6-7 chapters each, right? Because it goes into detail. So from this today, we'll start the Ashtamodhyayaha, which is the beginning of the Dhruva Charitram. So let me take about 5-10, because this is a pretty long chapter. So I'm going to find a breaking point and go there. Okay. So in the beginning, this Maitreya is just talking about a few examples of, just a little bit. He talks about how indirectly, right? So he kind of says that, from Brahma, all the good beings came, but also the things which are there to counter religious views. Also, everything comes from Brahma. So even the concept of untruth, dishonesty, all of this also comes from Brahma. So from that, he talks about the lineage of how cheating happens, because, dishonesty is there, then people cheat, then there's irreligion. So he just goes on to describe a few things, but we can just skip over it. The net he kind of says is, the purpose of the causes of devastation, how somebody ends up in a bad path. He just goes on describing it as metaphorically about children who are born to Brahma, how they have children, and untruth comes, with that dishonesty comes, with that people commit bad deeds, with that comes fear of death and all of that stuff. That's the first few stanzas. So we'll kind of skip through that. We'll go to the main one. So he continues now, Maitreya continues the story of the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu. So in the first chapter, we saw a detailed lineage of Swayambhuva Manu, right? And his wife Shatarupa. So we saw anyway Devahuti Kardama, which we saw in the third canto. Then Prasuti getting married to Daksha. We saw it now in the first 7 chapters. So now he comes to the first son of Swayambhuva Manu called Uttanapada. So this Uttanapada, this you all know from Narayanyam. Uttanapada nripate manunandanasya jaya babuva suruchir sutaram abhishta. So Suruchi, Suniti, 2 wives he actually had. Now out of this, the Suruchi was much more favorite, was much more dearer to the king, right? This other person, Suniti, was not the favorite of her. So that's why it says Anya Suniti riti bharturana dhritasa Twameva nityamagate sharanam ghata bhut. So because I'm telling Narayanyam, but Suniti, who was not liked by Uttanapada, she thought my only hope for me is to always keep praying to Narayana, because I don't have anything, because the king doesn't like me, right? So that is this second wife of his called Suniti, who had a son called Dhruva. So one day, this king Uttanapada was sitting in his kingdom, and the Uttama is the name of the son of Suruchi, who is his first wife. So both of them are young. Dhruva is 5 years old. Uttama is slightly older than Dhruva, so I don't know, 6, 7 or whatever age. The age is not mentioned. So this Uttama is sitting on the lap of his father, Uttanapada. So at that time, Dhruva is coming, and then he also wants to get on the lap of his father. So at that time, Suruchi who's the mother of Uttama, is blocking Dhruva. And she's saying, she says Dhruva who's 5 years old, he says, you, Dhruva, do not have the right to sit on the lap of the king. She says, you are right. You are born, the king is your father as well. But she says, you are not born from my womb, right? So because you are not born from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on the lap of your father. And he says, you are born from the womb of another person. So he says, don't even attempt, don't even try to go sit on your father's lap. It is only doomed to fail, because this is a desire which cannot be fulfilled. It's impossible to fulfill this desire. Now, she also tells him one other thing. She says, if you desire to sit on the lap of your father, I'll give you an option. I'll tell you how you can do it. She says, you go do severe austerities to Narayana, go pray to Narayana. And then when Narayana, when he asks, what do you want? You pray that in your next birth, you're born in my womb. Then when you're born in my womb, then you will have access to the king. Right? So that's what she actually tells. So she's Dhruva's first guru because she's the one who's telling Dhruva, go pray to Narayana, right? Although the intention was different, but she's guiding him in the right path, right? So she tells you, go pray and you wish that you are born in my womb in your next birth. So when this happens, Dhruva's 5-year boy, he's like, very disappointed. He's extremely angry because he can't even sit in his father's lap. So he goes to his mother, Suniti, and there, when she goes crying and she doesn't know, say everybody else is telling this is what is actually happening, right? So at the time, Suniti is also very disturbed because how, Dhruva got insulted and the king Uttanapada did not speak a word to support him or say no, nothing happened, right? So she now gives Dhruva clearly, she says, first of all, he says, even though Surichi did that, do not wish anything bad. Just because somebody did something bad to you, she says, do not wish anything inauspicious, first of all, because Dhruva is very angry. He wants to kind of retaliate and fight back. She says, step number one is do not wish anything bad. Second thing, she says is what she said is a fact. She says, although I am a queen, I am like a maid servant right now because your father, the king, doesn't care for me at all. So I am equivalent of a maid servant. So it's unfortunate that you're born from my womb, right? And then you're grown up with me. So it's unfortunate. So I can't help about it, right? That's what is right now. So that is what she says is true. And then the next thing she says is, if you want to sit on the throne, like what she's actually telling, the other thing which she said is also correct, which is the only person who can actually help you out is you have to pray to Narayana. She says the reason is, she says your grandfather, which is Swayambhuva Manu, completely dedicated his service, his life to Narayana, and he prayed to Narayana all the time. That was the way he actually became the ruler of the entire earth. And then finally, he had all good things happen, and finally, he gave up his life, or he got liberated. Swayambhuva Manu. Not only your grandfather, your great grandfather Brahma, right? Even I'm using the word he, but even Brahma at that time did not have all the knowledge. What did he do? He also worshipped Narayana, right? He also did all the meditation towards Narayana. So he says, not only it's not applicable to just you, even your grandfather and your great grandfather have all prayed to Narayana, and he's always made sure that they are actually blessed and they are protected, and that is the only way out. So she says, whatever your other mother has said is absolutely the truth. So she says, you have no option. Go and pray to Lord Narayana. That's what his mother Suniti is telling. Now, her intention of telling this to Dhruva, and even Dhruva's intention right now, is to go and sit on the lap, right? And the path for that is to go to worship to Narayana. So with that, Dhruva being 5 years old, he decides, you know what, I'm going to leave the house. Because all these children say, I'm going to leave, I'm going to find my way, right? So Dhruva leaves his house. So, and where will Dhruva go? Dhruva doesn't know anything. He has no idea where he's going also, right? But one thing is very determined. He's very determined that he's going to seek Narayana. So when he's trying to seek Narayana, then the appropriate guru is going to come, and Narada himself comes. So now, because Narada knows what a great personality this boy is going to be. So Narada himself comes. Now, first he has to test how strong is Dhruva in terms of what he wants to do. So Narada first comes and says, tells him nicely that you are a Kshatriya. First of all, he starts by saying you are a small boy. If you're a boy, you should be worried about playing and, playing with kids and doing all the other stuff, right? But he says, I can see that you have a Kshatriya blood in you. Because you seem so offended. You get so offended easily. Just because one mother said something, you seem to be so offended. You seem to have left your house, right? Which is not correct. And then he says, first thing you have to understand here is that anything you are hurt, or you have high pride or hurt, it's all because of your own ego, because you think it is happening to you, right? But it says that's not truth. He says the soul is unaffected by everything. The soul is just going and undergoing experience. If you think you are this body, then your body is going to get hurt. Your mind is going to get hurt. All of those things are coming. All of this is coming from illusion. And you have to understand that whatever is happening for a reason. It is because of your past karma. You cannot escape your past karma. So if something is happening to you, it is happening because of your past karma. But you should know that you should not get attached to it, right? And he says you have to trust the process of karma that Bhagavan has. Nothing wrong is going to happen to you if it's not destined to happen to you. So he says you have to trust that path. If your mother, that mother of yours, is telling you you can't sit, it is happening for a reason, because you don't deserve to sit, right? Because it's going to result in something else. So he says you cannot question whether something that is happening to me is right or wrong. It is 100% right. You have to trust the process there, right? Now, he says, that's first thing. So he says, don't do this, because you have to accept what is happening to you. The next thing Narada says, third thing he says is, if you are trying to reach Narayana, he says, just give up. It's impossible. He says there are so many rishis and ascetics who have meditated for hundreds and thousands of years, and they don't even get a glimpse of Bhagavan, right? So when people undergo so many austerities, you are like fire, you are just so emotionally charged right now, and you want to kind of go and do it. He says it is impossible, so you should just rather give up. So he says the best thing for you is you go home right now. When you grow up, you get more knowledge, you get more information, you at that time go and try to pursue Narayana. That is absolutely fine, right? And then that's what Narada tries. He gives this very clear plan to Dhruva, saying you are a Kshatriya, you should be playing, then don't get affected. This is all irrelevant. And plus, it's impossible what you're going through. So for that, Dhruva beautifully answers. He's a small boy, right? He says, whatever you're saying may be true. It is true for people who understand the concept of happiness and suffering in this world, right? He says, I'm a small boy. I have no idea of anything. If somebody knows stuff, you can say, oh, it is because of your ego, it's because of your atma, all of the separation. He says, I'm a small boy. I have no idea. I'm just completely ignorant, right? So he says, whatever spiritual advice you are giving me doesn't make any sense to me at all. Okay, you think whatever these intellectual teachings you are doing doesn't apply to me, because I'm just emotionally upset right now, right? My mother insulted me, and I have only one goal. He says, I have to go meet that Narayana. I have to get a throne which is bigger than what my great grandfather had, which is Brahma. Right? He says that is my goal. I'm not going to now go for my father's throne anymore. I don't want Uttanapada's throne anymore. I need to go above Swayambhu Manu. I need to go above Brahma, and I want to get the biggest throne possible. Right? And I'm going to go seek out Narayana till I actually get that. So he says, thanks for your advice, but no thanks, because I don't understand it. And then he tells very clearly, if you are able to tell me how to get to that Narayana, then tell me how to do that, right? Because I know that you are a very mature person. You seem to be, traveling all over the world and everything. So if you can help me find Narayana, let's talk. Otherwise, I am on my way, right? With that, Dhruva tells that it ends up in 38:40. And then that's halfway through this chapter. And then the rest of this chapter is very beautiful, of Narada telling Dhruva how to go reach Narayana and what to meditate on and where to go for that. Okay, so we'll start with this. I took a printout because I thought I was going to be in London last week. So I printed those pages and took. So, okay, so let's see. Anandji, you can be a student, and Sudha, you can be a student. Let's see, Sudha, yeah. अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः मैत्रेयो वाच सनकाद्या नारदश्च ऋभुर्हंसोरुनिर्यतिः नैते गृहान् ब्रह्मसुता ह्यावसन्नूर्ध्वरेतसः ह्यावसन् ऊर्ध्वरेतसः, but you can put a double na there. मैत्रेयो उवाच सनकाद्या नारदश्च ऋभुर्हंसोरुनिर्यतिः नैते गृहान् ब्रह्मसुता ह्यावसन्नूर्ध्वरेतसः.
मैत्रेय उवाच सनकाद्या नारदश्च ऋभुर्हंसोरुनिर्यतिः नैते गृहान् ब्रह्मसुता ह्यावसन् ऊर्ध्वरेतसः.
मैत्रेय उवाच सनकाद्या नारदश्च ऋभुर्हंसोरुनिर्यतिः नैते गृहान् ब्रह्मसुता ह्यावसन्नूर्ध्वरेतसः.
मृषा धर्मस्य भार्यासीत्. It's a double the there. Put a it भार्यासीत्, दम्भं मायां च शत्रुहन् असूत मिथुनं तत्तु, निर्ऋतिर जगृहे प्रजः मृषा धर्मस्य भार्यासीत् दम्भं मायां च शत्रुहन् असूत मिथुनं तत्तु निर्ऋतिर्जगृहे प्रजः
मृषाधर्मस्य भार्यासीद्दम्भं मायां च शत्रुहान् आसूदमिथुनं तत्तु निर्वृतिर्जगृहे प्रजः.
The second line, first word I heard, just asut.
Asuda, it's not
No,
Asuda.
no, just asut mithunam.
Sorry, Asuda, correct. Asudamidinam tattu.
Yeah.
Sorry about it. Thank
No,
you very
no.
much.
वृषाधर्मस्य भार्यासीत् धम्बं मायां च शत्रुहन् असूतमिथुनं तत्तु निर्ऋतिर्जगृहे प्रजः
तयोस् सम भवल्लोभो निकृतिश्च महामते ताभ्यां क्रोधश्च हिंसा च यत् दुरुक्तिस् श्वसा कलिः तयोः समभवल्लोभो निकृतिश्च महामते ताभ्यां क्रोधश्च हिंसा च यद्दुरुक्तिस्वसा कलिः
तयोसमभवल्लोभः निकृतिश्च महामते ताभ्यां क्रोधश्च हिंसा च यद्दुरुक्ति ससा कलिः.
If you have lobah, and you just change it to lobho, because sometimes the visarga, when the next word is coming, it becomes o there. So
Lobho. Okay.
yeah.
तयोसम्भवल्लोभो निकृतिश्च महामते ताभ्यां क्रोधश्च हिंसा च यदुरुक्तिः स्वसा कलिः
And so the double the yaduruktis
यद्दुरुक्तिः स्वसा कलिः
duruktau kaliradhatta, bhayam mrityum cha sattamha tayoscha mitunam jagne, yathana nirayas tatha. दुरुक्तौ कलिराधत्त भयं मृत्युं च सत्तमः तयोश्च मिथुनं जज्ञे यातना निरयस्तथा.
दुरुक्तो कलिराधत्त भयं मृत्युं च सत्तम तयोश्च मिथुनं जज्ञे यातना निरयस्तथा.
दुरुक्तौ कलिरादत्त भयं मृत्युं च सत्तम तयोश्च मिथुनं जज्ञे यातना निरयस्तथा
संग्रहेण मयाख्यातः प्रतिसर्गस्तवानघ त्रिश्रुत, this visarga that takes a ish sound, त्रिश्रुत वैतत् पुमान punyam, vidhunotyatmano malam. That's one word. Vidhunotyatmano. Sangrahena maya khyatah pratisargastava nagha trishrut vaitat puman punyam vidhunotyatmano malam.
संग्रहेण मया ख्यातः प्रतिसर्गस्तवानगः त्रिसृतैतत् पुमान् पुण्यं विदिनोत्यात्मनो मलम्.
So that word trishrut vaitat, V sound, trishrut vaitat puman punyam.
त्रिसृतैतत् पुमान् पुण्यम्.
संग्रहेण मया ख्यातः प्रतिसर्गस्तवानग त्रिश्रुत्वैतत् पुमान् पुण्यं विदिनोत्यात्मनो मलम्
अतातः कीर्तये वंशं, पुण्य कीर्तेः कुरुद्वः स्वायंभुवस्यापि मनोः. So visarga, then that ir on top of the ha goes away. Harer amshamsha janmanaha. So he says, I'm going to now tell you, continue the story of the Swayambhu Manu, who is just an amsham of Bhagavan. He also is a partial incarnation anyways. Atatah kirtahe vamsham punya kirteh kurudvah swayambhuvasyapi manoho harer amshamsha janmanaha.
अथात कीर्तये वंशं पुण्यकीर्ते कुरुद्वः स्वायम्भुवस्याभिमनोः हरेरंशांश जन्मनः.
अतात कीर्तये वंशं पुण्यकीर्तेः कुरुद्वः स्वायम्भुवस्यापि मनोः हरे अंशांश जन्मनः
प्रियव्रतोत्तानपादौ both the names combined as one, comma, Shatarupa Pate Sutau Vasudevasya Kalaya, comma, Rakshayam Jagatas Stithau. Priyavratottanapadau Shatarupapate Sutau Vasudevasya Kalaya Rakshayam Jagatastithau.
प्रियव्रतोत्तानपादो शतरूपापते सुतो वासुदेवस्य कलया रक्षायां जगदस्थितो
प्रियव्रतोत्थानपादौ शतरूपापते सुतौ वासुदेवस्य कलया रक्षायां जगतस्थितौ.
Now he's going to start describing about Uttanapada and the story. Jaye Uttanapadasya, comma, Sunitis Suruchis Tayoho Suruchif Preyasi Patyuhu, comma, Visarga, comma there. Then there's an ir that comes on top of the na that goes away. Netara Yatsuto Dhruvaha. Jahe Uttanapadasya Sunitis Suruchistayoho Suruchef Preyasi Patyuhu Netara Yatsuto Dhruvaha.
ध्याये उत्तानपादस्य सुनिधिः सुरुचिस्तयोः सुरुचिः प्रेयसी पत्युः नेतरायत्सुतो ध्रुवः
जायते उत्तानपादस्य सुनीतिः सुरुचिस्तयोः सुरुचिः प्रेयसी पत्युः नेतरायत्सुतो ध्रुवः.
And the first word, Sudha, jaye. I think you said jayate.
Oh, jaye, okay.
Ekada suruchef putram. So break at that ma, im, comma. Next word starts with the a. Ankam aropya lalayan. Uttamam naru rukshantham, comma. Dhruvam rajabhyanandata. Ekadha suruchef putram ankamaropya lalayan uttamam naru rukshantam dhruvam rajabhyanandata.
एकदा सुरुचेः पुत्रम् अङ्गम् आरोप्य लालयन् उत्तमं नारुरुक्षन्धं ध्रुवं राज्याभ्यनन्दत
एकदा सुरुचे पुत्रम् अङ्गमारोप्य लालयन् उत्तमं नारुरुक्षन्तं ध्रुवं राज्याभ्यनन्दत.
Rajabhyanandata. Tatha chikirshamanam tam, comma, sa patnyas tanayam dhruvam suruchish shrinvato rajnyaha, comma, Sershyam ahati garvita. I'm just breaking at that ma. Sershyam ahati garvita. Tata chikirshamahanam tam sapatnyastanayam dhruvam suruchish shrinvato rajnyaha Sershyam ahati garvita.
तदा चिकीर्षमाणं तं सपत्न्यास्तनयं ध्रुवं सुरुचिशृण्वतो राज्ञः शीर्ष्यम् आहादिगर्विता
तथा चिकीर्षमाणं तं सपत्न्यास्तनयं ध्रुवं सुरुचिः शृण्वतो राज्ञः शीर्ष्याम् आहातिगर्विता. शीर्ष्यमाहातिगर्विता.
Na vatsa nripater dhishyam, comma, bhavan arodhum arhati, na grihito maya yatvam, comma, kukshavapi nripatmajaha. Na vatsa nripater dhishyam, bhavan arodhum arhati, na grihito maya yatvam, kukshavapi nripatmajaha.
न वत्सनृपतेर्दिष्ण्यं भवानारोढुम् अर्हति न गृहीतो मया यत्त्वं कुक्षावपि नृपात्मजः
न वत्सनृपतेर्दिष्ण्यं भवानारोढुमर्हति न गृहीतो मया यत्त्वं कुक्षावपि नृपात्मजः.
Balosi bata natmanam, put a im, comma. Next word starts with a. Anya stri garbha sambhritam Noonam Veda Bhavan Yasya, comma, Durlabherte Manoratha. Says you are the Anyastri. Says you are born to some womb of some other woman. बालोऽसि भतनात्मानम् अन्यस्त्रीगर्भसम्भृतम् नूनं वेद भवान् यस्य दुर्लभेर्ते मनोरथः
बालोऽसि वदनात्मानम् अन्यस्त्री गर्भसम्भृतम् नूनं वेद भवान् यस्य दुर्लभेऽर्थे मनोरथः
बालोऽसि बतनात्मानम् अन्यस्त्रीगर्भसम्भृतं नूनं वेद भवान् यस्य दुर्लभेर्ते मनोरथः
तपसाराध्य पुरुषं, this is purusham here refers to Narayana, purusha, comma, तस्यैवानुग्रहेण मे गर्भे त्वं साधयात्मानं, comma, यदीच्छसि नृपासनम् तपसाराध्य पुरुषं तस्यैवानुग्रहेण मे गर्भे त्वं साधयात्मानं यदीच्छसि नृपासनम्
तपसाराध्य पुरुषं तस्यैवानुग्रहेण मे गर्भे त्वं साधयात्मानं यदीच्छसि नृपासनम्
तपसाराध्य पुरुषं तस्यैवानुग्रहेण मे गर्भे त्वं साधयात्मानं यदीच्छसि नृपासनम्
मैत्रेय उवाच मातुः सपत्न्यास् स दुरुक्ति विद्धः कोमा श्वसन् रुषा दण्डहतो यताहिः हित्वा मिषन्तं पितरं सन्नवाचं कोमा जगाम मातुः प्ररुदन् सकाशम्. He goes to his mother crying. मैत्रेय उवाच मातुः सपत्न्याः स दुरुक्तिविद्धः श्वसन् रुषा दण्डहतो यताहिः हित्वा मिषन्तं पितरं सन्नवाचं जगाम मातुः प्ररुदन् सकाशम्
मैत्रेय उवाच मातुः सपत्न्या स दुरोक्तिविद्धः श्वसन्जुषा दण्डहतो यदाहिः हित्वा मिषन्तं पितरं सन्नवाचं जगाम मातुं प्ररुद्धन् सकाशम्
जगाम मातुः प्ररुदन् सकाशम्. Second, last.
जगाम मातुः प्ररुद्धन् सकाशम्.
मैत्रेयोवाच मातुः सपत्न्या स दुरुक्तिविद्धः श्वसन् रुषा दण्डहतो यताहिः हित्वा मिषन्तं पितरं सन्नवाचं जगाम मातुः प्ररुदन् सकाशम्.
This danda refers to a stick. Yata ahihi, ahi refers to a snake. So when you hit the snake with a stick, how the snake breathes heavily. So he says, just comparing that. So Dhruva is feeling, that he's been hit. Although he's not physically hit, he feels like he's been hit and he's just breathing heavily and running to his mother. Tam nishwasantam spuritadharoshtham, comma, sunitirutsanga uduhya balam निशम्य तत् पौर मुखान् नितान्तं कोमा सा विव्यते यत् गदितं सपत्न्या तं निश्वसन्तं स्फुरिताधरोष्ठं सुनीतिरुत्संग उदुह्य बालं निशम्य तत् पौर मुखान् नितान्तं सा विव्यते यत् गदितं सपत्न्या
तं निःश्वसन्तं स्फुरिदाधरोष्टं सुनीतिरुत्संग उदूह्य बालं निशम्य तत्पौरमुखान्नितान्तं सा विविधे यद्गदितं सपत्न्या.
That word vivyate. Second line. सा विव्यते
यद्गदितं सपत्न्या. Thank you.
तं निश्वसन्तं स्फुरितादरोष्ठं सुनीतिरुत्संग उदूह्य बालं निशम्य तत्पौरमुखान् नितान्तं सा विव्यते यद्गदितं सपत्न्या.
सोत्सृज्य धैर्यं बिललाप शोक पुट प्लस दावाग्निना दावलतेव बाला वाक्यं सपत्न्यास् स्मरति सरोज again a plus श्रिया दृशा बाष्प कलामुवाह. So each of those lines are continuous. सोत्सृज्य धैर्यं विललापशोकदावाग्निनादावलतेव भाला वाक्यं सपत्न्या स्मरति सरोज श्रियादृशा बाष्पकलामुवाह.
सोत्सृज्य धैर्यं विललावशोकदावाग्निनादाबलदेव बाल वाक्यं सपत्न्या स्मरति सरोजश्रियावदृशा बाष्पकलामुवाह
सोत्सृज्य धैर्यं विललापशोकदावाग्निना दावलतेव बाला वाक्यं सपत्न्या स्मरति सरोज श्रियादृशा बाष्पकलामुवाह.
Okay, we'll switch one third. Sundari, you can be a student, and Sri Vidya, Sriram, you can be a student. Dheergham shwasanti vrijinasya param, which is breaking at that ma, comma, apashyati balakamaha bala, ma mangalam tata pareshu mamstha, comma, bhunkte jano yat para dukkha dastat. दीर्घं श्वसन्ती वृजिनस्य पारम् अपश्यति बालकमाहबाला मा मङ्गलं तात परेषु मंस्था भुङ्क्ते जनो यत्परदुःखदस्तत्.
दीर्घं श्वसन्ती वृजिनस्य पारम् अपश्यति बालकमाहबाला मामङ्गलं तात परेषु मंस्था भुङ्क्ते जनो यत्परदुःखदस्तत्.
दीर्घं श्वसन्ती वृजिनस्य पारम् अपश्यति बालकमाकबाला मामङ्गलं तात परेषु मंस्था भुङ्क्ते जनो यत्प्रदुःखदस्तत्.
सत्यं सुरुच्याभिहितं भवान् मे, यद् दुर्भगाया उदरे गृहीतः स्तन्येन वृद्धश्च विलज्जते यां, भार्येति वा वोढुं, break at that in there, वोढुं इडस्पतिर्माम्. सत्यं सुरुच्याभिहितं भवान् मे यद्दुर्भगाया उदरे गृहीतः स्तन्येन वृद्धश्च विलज्जते यां भार्येति वा वोढुम् इडस्पतिर्माम्.
सत्यं सुरुचाभिहितं भवान् मे दुर्भगाय उदरे गृहीतः स्तन्येन वृद्धश्च विलज्जते यां भार्येति वा वोढुम् इडस्पतिर्माम्.
Sundari, and the first Suruj, I heard a long word. It's a short.
Surucha, yeah, sorry.
Let me short with that. Suruchyabhihitam.
Satyam suruchyabhihitam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
सत्यं सुरुच्यापिहितं भवान् मे यद्दुर्भगाय उदरे गृहीतः स्तन्येन वृद्धश्च विलज्जते यां भार्येति वा वोढुम् इडस्पतिर्माम्. भार्येति वा वोढुम् इडस्पतिर्माम्.
आतिष्ठ तत्तात बिमत्सरस्त्वं, break at that im, uktam samatrapi yadavyalīkam आराधयाधोक्षज, so that cannot break that word, आराधयाधोक्षज पाद padmam, yadichhase dhyasanam, that word is one word, dhyasanam uttamo yatha. So, here she is saying that the only way is worshipping adhokshaja. Adhokshaja refers to Lord Narayana, saying, so that the only way is you go pray to his pada padma, his lotus-like feet of Lord Narayana. You have to seek refuge. Aradhaye, you go worship. That is the only option. Athishta tattata bimatsarastvam uktam samatrapi yadavyalīkam आराधयाधोक्षज पाद पद्मं यदीच्छसे ध्यासनमुत्तमो यथा.
आतिष्ठ तत्तात विमत्सरस्त्वम् उक्तं समात्रापि यदव्यलीकम् आराधयाधोक्षज पाद पद्मं यदीच्छसे ध्यानसनम् उत्तमो यथा. ध्यासनम् उत्तमो यथा.
आदिष्टदत्तात विमत्सरस्त्वम् उक्तं समात्रापि यदव्यलीकम् आराधयातोक्षजपादपद्मम् यदीच्छसे ध्यासनमुत्तमो यथा
यस्याङ्घ्रि पद्मं परिचर्य विश्व पुट प्लस विभावनायात गुणाभिपत्तेः अजोद्य तिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्ठ्यं पदं जितात्म श्वसनाभिवन्द्यम् यस्याङ्घ्रिपद्मं परिचर्य विश्वविभावनायात गुणाभिपत्तेः अजोद्य तिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्ट्यं पदं जितात्मश्वसनाभिवन्द्यम्
यस्याङ्घ्रिपद्मं परिचर्य विश्वविभावनायातगुणाभिपत्तेः अजोऽध्यतिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्ठ्यं पदं जितात्मश्वसनाभिवन्द्यम्
यस्याङ्घ्रिपद्मं परिचस्य विश्वविभावनायात् पत्तेः अजोत्यतिष्ठत् खलु पारमेष्ट्यं पदं जितात्मं शवसनाभिवन्द्यम्.
So here the Aja is somebody who is not born, is unborn. So here is referring to Brahma because Brahma is physically not born like how we are born, right? He just comes out of Bhagavan. So he says even though that Brahma is not born, he is in that position and able to get that knowledge. First he got the knowledge and he continues to remain in this position only because Bhagavan wants him to be in that position. So he himself, your great grandfather himself relied on Narayana to get where he is and do what he wants. Tatha Manurvo Bhagavan Pitamaho, talking about his grandfather Swayambhu Manu, Yameka Matya Puru Dakshinair Makhaihi, Ishtwabhi Pede Duravapam Anyato, Bhaumam Sukham Divyam Athapa Vargyam. So he got all of this Sukham and wealth and pleasure and happiness and everything only because he also did the same thing. तथामनुर्वो भगवान् पितामहो यमेकमत्या पुरुदक्षिणैर्मखैः इष्ट्वाभिपेदे दुरवापमन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमथापवर्ग्यम्
तथा मनुर्वो भगवान् पितामहो यमेकमत्या पुरुदक्षिणैर्मखैः इष्ट्वाभिपेदे दुर्वापम् अन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमथापवर्ग्यम्
तथा मनुर्वो भगवान् पितामहो यमेगमत्या पुरुदक्षिणैर्मखैः इष्ट्वाभिपेदे दुर्वापमन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमतापवर्ग्यम्.
Duravapam, the second line first part, Duravapamanyatu.
Duravapamanyatu.
Yeah. Tamiva Vatsashraya Bhritya Vatsalam, Mumukshubhir Mrigya Padabja Padhatim Ananya Bhave Nija Dharma Bhavite, Manasya Vasthapya, one word, Bhajasva Purusham. Your full devotion, you engage in the worship. Tameva Vatsashraya Bhritya Vatsalam Mumukshubhir Mrigya Padabja Padhatim Ananya Bhave Nija Dharma Bhavite Manasya Vasthapya Bhajaswa Purusham.
तमेव वत्साश्रय भृत्य वत्सलं मुमुक्षुभिर्मृग्यपदाब्जपद्धतिम् अनन्यभावे निजधर्मभाविते मनस्यवस्थाप्य भजस्व पूरुषम्
तमेव वत्साश्रय भृत्यवत्सलं मुमुक्षुभिर्मृग्य पदाब्ज पत्तितं पद्धतिम् अनन्यभावे निजधर्म भाविते मनस्यवस्थाप्य भजस्व पूरुषम्.
Nanyam tataf padma palasha lochanat, dukkachidam te mrigayami kanchana yo mrigyate hasta grihita padmaya, shriye tarairanga vimrigya manaya. Nanyam tataf padma palasha lochanat dukkachidam te mrigayami kanchana Yo mrigyate hasta grihita padmaya श्रियेतरैरङ्गविमृग्यमाणया
नान्यं ततः पद्मपलाशलोचनात् दुःखच्छिदं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो मृग्यते हस्तगृहीतपद्मया श्रियेतरैरङ्गविमृग्यमाणया
नान्यं ततः पद्मपलाशलोचनात् दुःखश्चितं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो मृग्यते हस्तगृहीतपद्मया श्रियेतरैरङ्गविमृग्यमाणया.
So he says, even the people who worship, who want all the wealth in the world, who worship Shri, that's where the word Shriya is coming. So who worship Shri, Mahalakshmi, he says even Mahalakshmi will only go where Lord Narayana is there. So, so even she has to go there. So he says there's no other option for you, Dhruva. You directly go to the source and worship the person who everybody goes after. Maitreya Uvacha, Evam Sanjalpitam Matuhu. The Ra goes away, Visarga, comma. Next word will start with the A. Akarnyarthagamam vachah. So akarnyarthagamam. Cannot break that word. Gamam vachah. Sanniyam yatmanatmanam. Even that word cannot break it. Sanniyam yatmanatmanam. Comma. Nishchakrama pituf purat. Maitreya uvacha evam sanjalpitam matuhu आकर्ण्यार्थागमं वचः सन्नियं यात्मनात्मानं निश्चक्राम पितुः पुरात्
मैत्रेय उवाच एवं सञ्जल्पितं मातुः आकर्ण्यार्थागमं वचः सन्नियं यात्मनात्मानं निश्चक्राम पितुः पुरात्
मैत्रेय उवाच एवं सञ्जल्पितं मातुः आकर्ण्यार्थात्मकं वचः सन्नियं यात्मनात्मानं निश्चक्राम पितुः पुरात्
नारदस् तदुपाकर्ण्य ज्ञात्वा तस्य चिकीर्षितं स्पृष्ट्वा मूर्धन्यघग्नेन Panina praha vismitaha. So Narada comes and then he touches Dhruva's head with his hand. Naradastadupakarnya jnatva tasya chikirshitam sprishtva murdhanyaghagnena panina praha vismitaha.
नारदस्तदुपाकर्ण्य ज्ञात्वा तस्य चिकीर्षितं स्पृष्ट्वा मूर्धन्यघग्नेन पाणिना प्राह विस्मितः
नारदस्तदुपाकर्ण्य ज्ञात्वा तस्य चिकीर्षितं स्पृष्ट्वा मूर्धन्य okay
मूर्धनि अघग्नेन वரும் so ni and a becomes a nya so मूर्धन्य घग्नेन
स्पृष्ट्वा मूर्धन्यगग्नेन पाणिना प्राह विस्मितः
अहो तेजः say the visarga तेजः क्षत्रियाणां मान भंगम अमृष्यतां बालोप्ययं हृदा दत्ते यत् समातुरसद्वचः. You can break it that ra if you want. अहो तेजः क्षत्रियाणां मानभङ्गम् अमृष्यतां बालोप्ययं हृदा धत्ते यत् समातुरसत्वचः.
अहो तेजः क्षत्रियाणां मानभङ्गम् अमृष्यतां बालोप्ययं हृदा धत्ते यत् समातुरसद्वचः
अहो तेजः क्षत्रियाणां मानभङ्गं मृषायताम् बालोऽव्ययं हृता दत्ते यत् समादुर सत्वचः.
And the first line, last word, Shividya, bhangam amrishyatam.
Bhangam amrishyatam.
It's easy. If you say im, then it becomes the next word becomes a. So bhangam amrishyatam. Narado vacha nadhunapyavamanam te, sammanam vapi putraka lakshayamah kumarasya, saktasya kridanadishu. नारद उवाच नाधुनाप्यवमानं ते सम्मानं वापि पुत्रक लक्षयामः कुमारस्य सक्तस्य क्रीडनादिषु
नारद उवाच नाधुनाप्यवमानं ते सम्मानं वापि पुत्रक लक्षयामः कुमारस्य सक्तस्य क्रीडनादिषु
नारद उवाच नाधुना नाधुनाप्यवमानं ते सम्मानं वापि पुत्रक लक्षयामः कुमारस्य सक्तस्य क्रीडनादिषु
विकल्पे विद्यमानेऽपि न्यह्यसन्तोषहेतवः पुंसो मोहमृते भिन्नाः so add a visarga there भिन्नाः यल्लोके निजकर्मभिः विकल्पे विद्यमानेऽपि न्यः सन्तोषहेतवः पुंसो मोहमृते भिन्नाः यल्लोके निजकर्मभिः
विकल्पे विद्यमानेऽपि न्यह्यसन्तोषहेतवः पुंसो मोहमृते भिन्नाः यल्लोके निजकर्मभिः
विकल्पे विद्यमानेऽपि न ह्यसन्तोषहेतवः पुंसो मोहभृते भिन्नाः यल्लोके निजकर्मभिः.
Okay, we'll switch here. Sindhuji, you can be a student. And Vijaya, I don't know if you're back or if you're driving, you can be a student.
Yeah, I can.
So we'll see in several examples, including in the fourth skandam, where at every point, any time, if your intention is to go and worship Narayana, and if there is a bhangam, if there is a roadblock, the one person who will always come to help out is Narada. He's going to come and steer people in the right direction. We're going to see this later on, end of the fourth canto, the Puranjano Pakyam Prachetas, the Prachina Bharhishit, he's going to come. He's going to come in so many examples. He's going to come and teach them to go in the right path if he feels that they're destined to go there. Paritushet tatastata, tavan matrena purushaha, daivopasaditam yavad, वीक्षेश्वर गतिं बुधः परितुष्येततस्तात तावन्मात्रेण पूरुषः दैवोपसादितं यावत् वीक्षेश्वर गतिं बुधः
परिदुष्येतदस्ताद तावन्मात्रेण पूरुषः दैवोपसादितं यावद् वीक्ष्येश्वरगतिं बुधः
परिदुष्येतदस्तात् तावन्मात्रेण पुरुषः दैवोपसाधितं यावत् वीक्षेश्वरगतिं पुतः
अथ मात्रोपदिष्टेन योगेनावरुरुत्ससि यत् प्रसादं स वै पुंसां दुराराध्यो मतो मम अतमात्रोपदिष्टेन योगेनावरुरुत्ससि यत्प्रसादं स वै पुंसां दुराराध्यो मतो मम
अधमात्रोपदिष्टेन योगेन वरुरुत्ससि यत्प्रसादं स वै पुंसां दुराराध्यो मदो मम
अधमात्रोपदिष्टेन योगेनावरुरुत्ससि यत्प्रसादं स वै पुंसां धूरारात्यो मदो मम
मुनयः पदवीं यस्य निस्सङ्गेनोरुजन्मभिः न विदुर्मृगयन्तोऽपि तीव्रयोगसमाधिना. It says people perform tivra yogam, they perform severe austerities to try to reach, but they are all unsuccessful in that. So he's trying to discourage, saying after births and births and births, people try to do this, but they still cannot reach Bhagavan. How do you think you can go here? Munayah padavim yasya nissange norujanmabhihi na vidur mrigayantopi tivra yoga samadhina.
मुनयः पदवीं यस्य निस्सङ्गेनोरुजन्मभिः न विदुर्मृगयन्तोऽपि तीव्रयोगसमाधिना
मुनयः पदवीं यस्य निःसङ्गेनोरुजन्मभिः न विदु मृगयन्तोऽपि तीव्रयोगसमाधिना
अतो निवर्ततामेष निर्बन्धस्तव निष्फलः यतिष्यति भवान् काले श्रेयसां समुपस्थिते। अतो निवर्ततामेष निर्बन्धस्तव निष्फलः यतिष्यति भवान् काले श्रेयसां समुपस्थिते।
अदो निवर्तदामेष निर्बन्धस्तव निष्फलः यदिष्यति भवान् काले श्रेयसां समुपस्थिते।
अधो निवर्तताम् एष निर्बन्धस्तव निष्फलः यदिष्यति भवान् काले श्रेयसां समुपस्थिते।
यस्य यद् दैव विहितं स तेन सुख दुःखयोः आत्मानं तोषयन् देही तमसः पारमृच्छति। यस्य यद्दैव विहितं स तेन सुख दुःखयोः आत्मानं तोषयन् देही तमसः पारमृच्छति।
यस्य यद्दैवविहितं स तेन सुखदुःखयोः आत्मानं तोषयन् देहि तमसः पारमृच्छति।
यस्य यद्दैव विहितं स तेन सुखदुःखयोः आत्मानं तोषयन् देहि तमसः पारमृच्छति।
Gunadhikan mudam lipset. So the that is there, we're going to break it. It and a lipset. Next word starts with the a. Anukrosham gunadhamat. Maitrim samanad. So I'm breaking at the da if you want. Samanad anvichet. You'll have a double na. One of them becomes a it. Anvichet, comma. Na tapair abhibhuyate. गुणाधिकान् मुदं लिप्सेत अनुक्रोशं गुणाधमात् मैत्रीं समानाद् अन्विच्छेत न तापैरभिभूयते।
गुणाधिगान्मुदं लिप्सेद अनुक्रोशं गुणाधमाद मैत्रीं समानादन्विच्छेद न दापैरभिभूयते।
गुणाधिकान् मुदं लिप्सेत् अनुक्रोशं गुणाधमात् मैत्रीं समानात् अन्विच्छेत् न धावैरभिभूयते।
ध्रुव उवाच सोऽयं शमो भगवता सुख दुःख हतात्मनां दर्शितः कृपया पुंसां दुर्दर्शोऽस्मद् विधैस्तु यः। ध्रुव उवाच सोऽयं शमो भगवता सुखदुःखहतात्मनां दर्शितः कृपया पुंसां दुर्दर्शोऽस्मद्विधैस्तु यः।
ध्रुव उवाच सोऽयं शमो भगवता सुखदुःखहदात्मनां दर्शितः कृपया पुंसां दुर्दर्शोऽस्मद्विधैस्तु यः।
ध्रुव उवाच सोऽयं शमो भगवता सुखदुःखहतात्मनां दर्शितकृपया पुंसां दुर्दर्शोऽस्मद्विधैस्तु यः।
अथापि मे विनीतस्य क्षात्रं घोरमुपेयुषः सुरुच्या दुर्वचो बाणैः विसर्गा न, that ear goes away, na bhinne shrayate hridi. So he says durvacha banehi. He says the arrows of the durvacha, the bad, the words, the insult that Suruchi did, it is hitting my heart, hridi. So he's saying that you can talk all kinds of philosophy and really spiritual things. He says, but I'm just, it has pierced my heart, so I don't care about what you say about all this knowledge, right? He says, I don't care about that because I'm just ignorant about all of that. अथापि मे विनीतस्य क्षात्रं घोरमुपेयुषः सुरुच्या दुर्वचो बाणैः न भिन्ने श्रयते हृदि
अधाभिमे विनीदस्य क्षात्रं घोरमुभेयुषः सुरुच्या दुर्वजो बाणैः न भिन्ने श्रयदे हृदि
अथापि मे विनीतस्य शास्त्रं घोरम् उभेयुषः सुरुच्या दुर्वचो भानैः न भिन्ने श्रयते हृदि
पदं त्रिभुवनोत्कृष्टं जिगीषोस् साधु वर्त्ममे ब्रूह्यस्मत् पितृभिर्ब्रह्मन् so double n there brahman next word starts with the anyay apyanadhishtitam. So he says in the three words, three bhuvanot. So he says, I want to attain something which is bigger than what is attained by anybody in the three worlds, even more than what my father or my grandfather, Pitrubihi, Brahma, all of them have attained. I want something even bigger than that. I'm saying this so many times because he's a 5-year-old boy. He has a certain thing. You will see how he'll change later on when he gets a darshan of Bhagavan, right? So that's why I'm saying, because that's what they keep telling. He keeps wanting, because his intention is he wants that, right? But he wants to get it through Bhagavan, which was the good part of it, right? He still wants something material. He has so much wishes, even greater than what my great grandfather. I want something which is bigger than the three worlds. That's what he's right now asking. पदं त्रिभुवनोत्कृष्टं जिगीषो साधुवर्त्महे ब्रूह्यस्मत्पितृभिर्ब्रह्मन् अन्यैरप्यनधिष्ठितम्
पदं त्रिभुवनोत्कृष्टं जिगीषो साधुवर्त्ममे ब्रूह्यस्मत्पितृभिर्ब्रह्मन् अन्यैरप्यनधिष्ठितम्
पदं त्रिभुवनोत्कृष्टं जिगीक्षो साधु वर्त्ममे बृहि बृह्यस्मत्
ब्रूह्यस् ब्रूह्यस्
बृह्यस्मत्पितृभिः ब्रह्मन् अन्यैरप्यनधिष्ठितम्
नूनं भवान् भगवतो योऽङ्गजः परमेष्ठिनः वितुधन्नटते वीणां हितार्थं जगतोऽर्कवत् नूनं भवान् भगवतो योऽङ्गजः परमेष्ठिनः वितुदन्नटते वीणां हितार्थं जगतोऽर्कवत्
नूनं भवान् भगवतो योऽङ्गजः परमेष्टिनः विदुदन्नडदे वीणां हितार्थं जगदोर्कवद
नूनं भगवान् भगवतो योऽङ्गजः परमेष्टिनः विदुतन् अडते वीणां हितार्थं जगतोर्गवत्.
And the first line, Noonam Bhavan Bhagavato.
Noonam Bhavan Bhagavato.
Yeah. So I said meaning till here, just so that you know where we stopped. Maitreyo Vacha Ityudahritam Akarnya, Bhagavan Naradastada Prita Pratyaha Tam Balam, Sadvakyam Anukampaya. So with this, Narada is getting pleased because he feels that this boy is very determined, right? So he's in very pleased and then decides to show him the path. Maitreyo Vacha Ityudahritamakarnya Bhagavan Naradastadha Prita Pratyahatam Balam Sadvakyamanukampaya.
मैत्रेयो वाच इत्युदाहृतमाकर्ण्य भगवान् नारदस्तदा प्रीतप्रत्याहतं बालं सद्वाक्यमनुकम्पया
मैत्रेय उवाच इत्युदाहृतमाकर्ण्य भगवान् नारदस्तथा प्रीतप्रत्याहतं बालं सद्वाक्यम् अनुकम्पया.
So we'll do two more stanzas and stop today because from 42 there's a sequence that starts. So I don't want to get into that today. So Narado Vacha Jananyabhihitah Panthaha, Savai Nishreyasasyate Bhagavan Vasudevastham, Bhaja tat pravanatmana. He says very beautifully that you are asking for something which is beyond the three worlds. He says, if you have to get something which is beyond the three worlds, he says, even Brahma cannot grant you that. Because even Brahma has control only over the 14 worlds, which is three worlds. So he says, only option you have is Bhagavan Vasudevahatam. So you have to go bhaja. You have to go worship Bhagavan Vasudeva. He's the only option because he's the only one who can actually give you what you're wishing for. Nobody else has the capacity to be able to do that. नारदोवाच जनन्याभिहितः पन्थाः स वै निःश्रेयसस्य ते भगवान् वासुदेवस्तं भज तत्प्रवणात्मनः.
नारद उवाच जनन्याभिहितपन्दाः स वै निःश्रेयसस्य ते भगवान् वासुदेवस्तं भज तत्प्रवणात्मना.
नारद उवाच जनन्याभिहितः पन्थाः स वै निःश्रेयसस्य ते भगवान् वासुदेवस्तं भज तत्प्रवन् आत्मना.
धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षाख्यम य इच्छेच श्रेय आत्मनः एकमेव हरेस्तत्र कारणम पादसेवनम. I mean, this chapter is so beautiful. Like every stanza, you want to like get into the details of it, right? So he's saying that anybody, whether you want dharma, you want the principles of religion, understanding that you want karma, you want your desires, economic development, or the artha, the purpose of it, karma, all the desires you want, financial, anything, or moksha at the end. No matter which one you want, he says, Ekameva Harehe. You have to go worship Hari. That is the only option. He is the only one who can give you anything. You go do worship, Pada Sevanam. You go worship the lotus feet of the Bhagavan and you will get whatever you're asking for. Dharmartha Kama Mokshakhyam Ya Ichet Shreya Atmanah Ekameva Harestatra Karanam Pada Sevanam.
धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाख्यं य इच्छेत् श्रेय आत्मनः एकमेव हरेस्तत्र कारणं पादसेवनम्.
धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाख्यं य इच्छेत् श्रेय आत्मनः एकम् एव हरस्तत्र कारणं पादसेवनम्.
Correct. We'll stop here today. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर् वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rajesh.
Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.